Hello, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Invincible podcast. I am your host, Talia, and I am so excited to have you here. This podcast is to reframe your mindset, challenge those limiting beliefs that you may have when you're navigating all the situations in your life. And I'm here to give you tools to help you navigate them in such a healthy way and to harness your personal power that we tend to lose along the way. So settle up, get ready, grab a coffee, and get ready for some juice in each episode as I throw you what life has thrown me and we can navigate this shit together. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So I am going to do an episode on our feelings are not facts, because us as women, because we're more emotional than what men are, we do actually govern most of our thought processes and we link them to our emotions. Now, of course, emotions and thoughts and the actions, they are all coincided. But for us as women in general, so any men that listen to this or any of you ladies want to share this with a man, it would be actually very factual for them to understand this, okay? So I have a few of my notes here that I will reference back, but I do want to do an episode on both men and women. Feelings are not facts. So I do this too. So everything I talk about, I completely resonate with, and that's something that I actually do as well. So I am no different to you, okay? Oh my God, who would have thought that? We're all the same, and we all experience like similar stuff, who would ever thought that? So I really want to remind you ladies that literally it's okay. And for any men that are listening, this is a very normal thing, and this is how men can think that women are too much, too emotional, all those sort of things. And we all know that it's not. We all know on a generalized scale that no, it's just about how we have so many emotions, but not a lot of us understand how to process or to really feel safe in expressing them in a calm way, okay? So a lot of the time with life and things that happen, saying if we have a fight with a partner or, we're going through a breakup, and I always like to go back into relationship stance. I think we can all understand when I talk about explaining things in a relationship point of view, I think we can all understand it in that way. So that's why I'm sort of I always go back into why do you talk about relationships so much? Definitely not a relationship coach or anything like that. I feel like it's the best way for us to all understand because we've all been in a relationship before, okay? So that's why I always reference relationships to help understand what I'm trying to say. So when we're experiencing a fight in our relationship or whatever, we could be having a breakup and things like that. So sometimes the emotions of how we're feeling in that moment of what is going on actually feels more intense, and it starts to actually change our thoughts, okay? Now, this is probably going to be a little bit activating because it's we have to take ownership here. But it really is a thing where we start to go, okay, when we are experiencing this, it's okay. And a lot of women do. It's natural, okay? So it's natural for us to have it influence our thoughts, because if our partner's not understanding what we're trying to say because we don't know how to communicate it properly is generally why. We haven't been educated enough to speak to men for him to get it. And a lot of men aren't educated enough to really try and understand a woman's, how we try and communicate either. So that is both the dynamics of the influence, right? So, and that's okay. We don't need to always have to gang up on each other as a sex. It just is, okay? When we start to think okay, he's just not getting me, fuck him, I'm so annoyed, blah, blah, blah. That can actually influence our thoughts. So we then start to program, because the thing with our thoughts, okay, is that our thoughts are always processing. So our brain is always receptive to whatever we say, and especially our subconscious mind, which I'm sure of us that are listening to my podcast, because it's not the first ever podcast about this stuff. Our subconscious mind is always receiving information in our day-to-day life, even when we're sleeping, okay? So our subconscious part of our brain is always, how would you say, hearing, I guess, if you really want to put it in terms of oh my God, it's always retaining information. Yeah, It always is. It's always awake. It's always okay to absorbing all the information, okay? But our conscious mind isn't. Our conscious mind isn't active unless if we're awake, because our conscious mind is the thought process, is the part of our brain that we have control over, because we're conscious to what we're thinking. Like, think of a blue elephant. You're thinking of a blue elephant. Or it's like, oh, don't think of a yellow banana. And you're thinking of a yellow banana, because we have control, even if it's so effortless like that. We have full control over our conscious mind. And then our subconscious, we don't have control over that, because that is always retrieving information. And that is where a lot of our belief in ourself comes from. So when you're a child, you're very acceptable, very influenced, very young, and they're easily influenced, right? Absorbing so much in our life between the ages of 0 and 7. And so whatever you tell your child as will be their inner voice. And even if they see you talking to yourself, it can also be part of their inner voice. That's why it's so important. That's why we have the most important job in the world as parents. And so because we don't have any control over our subconscious mind, whatever belief system we're running, whether we're not worthy, everyone always leaves me, things like that, that's mine. So that's why I like to share. I have had those things like, I'm not worthy enough of this love. Like, he's going to cheat on me because I always do. What's another one that runs the show? Oh yeah, I'm not anyone special, or like, I'm never going to be successful in my life. Like, all those things fucking spin around in my brain. And this is the importance of rewiring our mindset, okay? What does this have to do with our emotions? All right, so good question. So when we're having like a disagreement or fight with our partner, and obviously we're going to feel a lot of the emotion and a lot of heat, because we're just like, oh my god, how dare you say that to me, or how dare you imply that I'm not doing whatever it is. Our emotion in that moment. Now, I always say, and I have said to my partner, because this is a lot of stuff I've learned that I have taken into my own relationship. Now, it's not perfect. We do have our mishaps, okay, because everyone does. What I'm saying here is I've taken this in by saying, all right, when we're in like a heated discussion, or like when we're fighting, whatever you like to call it. I like to say heated discussion because we never actually scream at each other. So when you're in a heated discussion with your partner, right, I said to him, I was like, when we get to that point, it's to whoever in that moment that is a lot more equipped to seeing what the situation for what it is, and they need to tell us to tap out and we need to revisit. Because a lot of the time, most people do say things in the moment of that they don't mean, because of the heatedness of their emotion, right? And so that's why I'm always like, okay, well, it's really important that we can, whoever's the most equipped here, we need to go, okay, before someone says something that we don't mean, we need to opt out of this, okay? So that's why, like, that's like a very big rule that I have said to him from day dot, because it's just not okay to say something you don't mean to someone. That's not fair. Whether he says it to you or you say it to him, it's not fair, and you have to own that, because we're feeling so much. And generally it's us as women, because we're feeling so much, because we're just like, oh my gosh, how dare you? Like, we feel it in our body. What happens then is the feeling that we're feeling, so agitated, angry, frustrated, sad, annoyed, whatever it is, and whatever emotions coming out with that, whether it's crying, whether it's screaming, whether that's shouting, yelling, whatever you need to do that comes out your body, we're all different. Whatever the emotion is and what you're feeling, that governs into our mind. So sometimes when we're talking to our girlfriend about a fight that we had with our partner, or when we actually try to reiterate it to our partner, we reiterate it more intense than actually what the situation was, because our feelings get the better of us and we imagine it to be greater than what the fight actually was. The reason why, before everyone turns me off and goes, fuck you, I have done this. So I am no better than you. I'm the only one so far between you and I listening that I can own it though. Because I am a woman, and a woman, I will say about our brain, if there is any men listening and you decide to go, hey, this chick knows what's up. A woman's brain has 6 language centers in our brain, okay? And they're in the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of our brain. Now, what that means is that we're so good at talking and feeling all at the same time, simultaneously, is why it can happen so fluently, because we have 6 language centers in our brain, and they're both on the right and the left hemisphere. Okay, when we because we have that, and it makes us a lot more emotionally intelligent, and that's why we want men to be an upgrade. Now, it's not shaming men here. You guys only have, I think it's two. This is my notes here. So men have two language centers, and they're located on the left hemisphere only. All right. So how that is, guys, is that the right hemisphere is emotional and left hemisphere is cognizant, I'm pretty sure it's called. Well, so basically you have a language part of your brain, and then you also have like a logical side of your brain. Okay. Now, men's are only in the left side because they're very logical thinking, and we have them in both in our right and our left hemisphere of our brain as a woman. And so basically we are able to collect data and say data, because that's like back in the day when it comes into hunter-gathering days, that was literally that's what we have been created to do, is to gather information and tell the tribe not to get the berries by the stream on the left side because they have the green leaves that are shaped like this, and it's the red berries, not the pink berries. And that's the intricate information that we had to tell the tribe so we wouldn't get poisoned and die. And then when you think of the man that would go out to hunt a lion, he would be concentrating so hard because singular focus to then spear the lion. And if he got distracted in doing that, he would get really agitated because we'd have no food and he's not providing and doing his job, right? That is literally how it all comes under. And yeah, and so our brain is still wired for that time. Our brain doesn't evolutionize like we do as a mankind. So basically what that means is the reason why we can be put in fight and flight so easily is because we're set back in that time. So when we're feeling a lot of cortisol, which is a stress hormone that gets moved around in our body, when that gets activated in our body, we then can go into a stress response, which is fight or flight mode. Everyone's different with that. And so when you get put into that state, your body and brain are back in that time, and they're thinking, I'm getting chased by a bear right now. That is what your brain is thinking. And that's why we feel so like, oh my God, this is just hurting, because your body is wired to go, fuck, we need to get the fuck away from this bear, because then if we don't, we're going to die. You know, that is literally the severity of it. And it's really bad if we live in that. And a lot of society is living in that right now, okay? And anyway, so dating back to feelings as facts is because we have 6 language centers in our brain that actually influences us to how we process and to deliver our emotions. So in the comparison as well, we have 10 times more white matter than men do. So that also connects us to be able to retrieve and to communicate the data that we need to. So whatever we need to say. So when we're really stressed, we talk a lot, because when we talk, it actually relieves an oxytocin in our body, which is our happy hormone. And it actually de-stresses a woman if she's able to talk to her partner. Sometimes you talk to your friend and you're just like, oh God, like you don't even need to reply to that because that just felt good to get that out. Because we are wired that way. That is literally helps us to not feel so stressed and to get whatever's going on up here out of our brain, because we rest easy then. Now, they have 6.5 more grey matter than women, which is the decision making. So that's why men are so good to make decisions and they're not as emotional, because they're so logical. That's why sometimes when we don't understand each other and our brain functions, this is where we can miss the mark in our relationships. It's like, oh my God, he just doesn't get me. So for an example, they don't understand, because my partner's actually said this to me, which I thought would be great to share on the podcast. So he said to me that he's like, we don't actually understand why you guys need to recite the alphabet before actually making a decision or fixing a problem. So we need to go A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way to Z, whereas a man will go A, B, C, pew, fix the problem. That is the pure difference between men and women, because we need to go through all the emotions, and they never understand why, because why are you getting so upset about that? It literally is this fix. But we are getting upset about it because we're emotional. Men aren't as emotional. And I'm not saying it's to excuse shitty behavior. It's not. They have to put their big boy pants on. I fully agree with that. But we as women, because we are, if we can all think of it in a non-egotistical way, because I really want this to come across really grounded, and if any men are listening, they're going to be like, fuck you. So this is where this is going to be quite an activating episode. So for us as women, we hold the power mostly, okay? Without that being like I'm more entitled or egotistical, because it's not. The reason why I say we hold the power a lot more is because our emotional state governs the household. So whatever you're feeling, so however we wake up in the morning, whether that's going to be, angry, upset, whatever, because we govern the household. So what that means is that however we wake up in the morning, in whatever energy that is, so if you're like sad or if you're angry, your kids will feel it and your partner will feel it too, because we just give how you can walk into a room and be like, whoa, something happened here and I have no idea what it was. I could cut this with a knife. It is the same thing. So we've got to think like, okay, so because your children will vibe off you. So if anyone's a mum, your children will vibe off you. So I do notice that if I'm a lot more angry, frustrated, my kids will then push me a lot more, because they're coming off my energy. So Scarlett will either go, oh my gosh, mummy, I need to stay away from you. Or my other child, Nevaeh, she'll just be like, all right, well, I'm going to push back then if you're going to be a pain in my ass. So literally every child's different. But that is a thing. Your children will feed off your energy, and you will make them feel that energy. And then your partner will go, oh, fuck, she's in trouble. Like, I'm walking on eggshells. No one likes to walk on eggshells in a relationship, right? So it's the same thing. So the more that we can go, okay, I'm feeling this. I need to scream into a pillow. I need to, throw things, whatever it is, to get the anger out in a safe way, because I'm all about that. Honestly, guys, it works. Like, sometimes I just scream into a pillow. My girls sit there and go, Mom, what are you doing? And I just need to scream it out. It's like teaching your kids. Like, I teach my girls to hit their bed. Like, I'm like, just hit your bed when they get really frustrated, because hitting isn't nice. I teach them, no biting, no hitting. We can always see like this like bruise on my shoulder. That's Nevaeh. She bit me. It hurts. I don't condone hitting and biting. So I always say, go hit your bed. So I teach them to hit their bed or something, because that getting that anger out. So they're not suppressing their emotion. They're then getting it out into their bed, because no one deserves to hit somebody and be on the other end of that. If you can hear the bin man, I'm so sorry. So no one deserves to be on the end of that. So that's where I'm trying to say, like, when we can then use our energy and our emotion in a safe way, you're then teaching your kids to do that. So then when they grow up and be an adult like us, they don't then go into a relationship and bash the shit out of that person, or they don't go into that relationship and then like start to be nasty, because that's how it all, like, patterns are patterns at the end of the day. So I really believe that it's good for your kids to be around stuff like that, when we can control ourselves and just be like, okay, mummy just needs to do this. And if your kids watch, you're not traumatizing them. I swear to God, you're not. They're just going to be like, what the hell is mummy doing? And you're just getting it out in a safe way. And then you go do something, try and do something to make you feel good that day. So then you're in a better state. So then your partner's not walking on eggshells. Now, don't get me wrong, it's vice versa. My partner, he doesn't realize it, but he can say really mean things because he's a man and he's less emotional. Doesn't excuse it, but like, he really can. And I'm like, geez, okay. But he's lucky that I'm educated enough and have a lot of emotional intelligence to understand he doesn't mean that. Again, it doesn't mean you excuse shitty behavior, and then he obviously always owns it after and goes, yeah, I'm sorry, babe. Doesn't happen all the time, but he does it, right? He's a man. They do it. We're all human. We're not perfect here, guys. I'm being real with you in like my podcast show, because I just feel like there's too many fake people online. It's normal for people to feel emotion, and I think the more we shame that, the more shitty society's going to be. Anyways, I can be the same. I can give off bad energy. Sometimes when he's in a shit mood, I feel it, because men can do that too. Energy is energy at the end of the day. You can make anyone feel however you want to. Like, for instance, without airing too much of my life, my partner, his co-parents, right? So his ex when I met her for the first time, that when I met her, she made sure I felt her energy. So I sat down with her and I was like, oh my God, okay. Like, she obviously wanted me to feel insecure. And I could just tell, I'm like, oh, okay, so she wants people to feel that way. Now, luckily for me, I've done a lot more work on myself that in the past, Talia, that would work. And I would have shat myself, cried. I don't know. I would have really gone into my shell. But because I've really faced a lot of my stuff, ever since I've learned to rediscover myself, I then can, be in a situation like that and be like, you're not going to intimidate me. Like, hi. So I'm strong enough in that aspect, but I can just tell that that's what she does. And so when it wasn't working, she didn't know how to be because she's so used to getting her way like that, right? Not shaming women, but that's just an example. Like, that's how much energy can really influence, right? And so this all goes hand in hand to the fact that women, we're emotional beings and it's normal and okay, all right? Now, how we can try not to influence our thoughts from our feelings, it is very hard. All right. And it's just about understanding, like, okay, I have a lot of emotions. Now, it's really hard when you're in it in the moment. It is a hard one. But I really want to do this episode to create awareness around the fact of there's never, I can't actually give you like one process and be like, okay, you just do this consistently and you'll be great. Like, it's honestly about having awareness when you're doing it. It's generally, obviously, when we're put into an uncomfortable state. Generally, when we've had a fight with our partner, a breakup is happening, there's something you can't control that's happening in your life. Your kids are a very good one to put us in that state as well if you're a mom, where your feelings will govern your thoughts and you're just like, oh my God. That's why men can sometimes be like, oh my gosh, like she exaggerated that, because, and some people don't mean to exaggerate it. So I'm talking about a general sense, no toxic, narcissistic people here, right? I'm talking about the average generalized society, right? So a lot of the time we don't realize we exaggerate a story because that was real for us, because how we felt was our facts. Like, how we felt in that moment, holy shit, that was real for me because I felt it that much that it felt like you did that to me. However, it was like, oh my God, and then he just yells at me and does that, or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't have an example for you, but something like that. And he's like, that's not what happened. He's like, babe, I just did that. Then you can sort of resolve it. Because whatever we feel, it feels like that. It feels scary. It feels like it happened more intensely than what it did because I had a lot of emotions because I'm a woman, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I do believe that if men can understand, like, okay, she's going to have emotions. Now, this all governs as well. Where are you along on your cycle? And it's not to feed the story of like, oh, that's just an excuse. It really isn't. So any men listening, and obviously women, that you may not even really understood about your cycle, because we don't actually get educated about our cycle when we are growing up, which is actually pretty shit. Because we do, bleed every month, and it varies between women. It really depends on your cycle and where you're at to how your emotions are going to be. Like, my partner seems to pick up on a pattern now, and I'm like, well, and sometimes I get offended when he says it because he's like, oh, I see there's a pattern happening, babe. And I'm like, how dare you say that to me? Because he knows, like, he doesn't know what he's picking up on. I think now he does, because now I'm just like, totally get it now, because I've learned more about my cycle. But he's kind of said it, and I'm like, how dare you say that? But it's true. When I start to get into the days of because I am I'm a 28 to 30 day cycle, and I will bleed for roughly about 6 to 7 days. It really depends each cycle. I'm going to be 32 this year. I don't know. It probably has something to do with that. But yeah, but I am generalized clockwork. And so generally for me, around day 26, 7, and 8, I am a lot more emotional. Like, I'm a lot more vulnerable. If my partner says something or he does something, I'm more likely to interpret it wrongly at that time in my cycle. And he's now picked on like, oh, there seems to be a bit of a pattern. I feel so judged, when really the pattern that he's picking up on is that, okay, she's a lot more emotional coming into almost her bleed. I now know where I stand. So if she starts to go off at me, or if I say something and if she does get a bit emotional, I can kind of go, okay, yep, she's about to bleed. Did you want ice cream, babe? Yep, that'll be great. Okay, no worries. Did you want a burger? Cool, yep. Like, you know what I mean? This is how we can incorporate our partner involved, and it can actually be a playful thing as well, to when they can understand, like, okay, like, she's coming into this part of her cycle, like, what do you need from me? That can also be beneficial in our relationships too. Honestly, it's literally a thing, and if men can kind of get around it a little bit more, that feelings is facts sometimes as women. Again, it's not excusing us to just blame that. It's just the more we can understand, because we, are generalized like a higher power, because we can think, feel, and say all at the same time, like think, feel, and talk all at the same time. We process everything all consecutively like that. It can be very infuriating to men because men can't do that. That's a biological thing, right? Not shaming them. They just really can't. So they can actually feel really intimidated by us. And so they can just be like, holy shit. Like, whereas it takes a man to process, like, when you have a fight and you're just like you're blurting out to him trying to fix shit. And he's just like, I don't know what to say back. And sometimes you get agitated and be like, what do you mean I don't know what to fucking say back? Because he's got to take time to process. And generally men will, like, when you have your fight, generally he'll come back to you the next day because he's actually had time to process everything and gone, okay, babe, I can understand what you're saying. And you've got to allow for that time. And a lot of the time, because we live in such a fast-paced life, we don't want to give them the time. But how are you meant to, support your partner in your relationship if you're not going to allow him the time to have that process? Because they literally can't. Whereas we can process things right then and there, they can't. Like, they struggle really badly. So, yeah, I don't know. I just hope that really helps everyone. And if you send it to your partner and go, this chick knows what she's talking about because I do it, honey, all of us do it. And it's never going to be a thing where you just stop doing it. It's just about being more self-aware. It's about just bringing awareness. And that's the whole point of this episode, is bringing awareness to the fact that we are women and we're going to have emotions, and men need to try to help understand where we're coming from. But then also we in turn need to understand that, okay, he needs time to process. He's not as emotional as us. And you can't change a man like that. You just need to help him understand, where you're trying to come from. You need to help him understand, like, okay, I'm about to get my period and this is why I'm being a shitty girlfriend or partner, wife, whatever. And being honest in that, I need some time alone. Can you take the kids for me for a few hours while I go do something or whatever, and vice versa. That's like supporting each other, right? Because honestly, guys, coming from a single parent who does it on her own, because I don't live with my partner or anything, we live like a fair way away from each other. Honestly, you need to lean on each other and give yourself time away from your kids. It's healthy to have time away from your kids because it can be so full on. Because my kids don't go to their dad, they don't have one as such. And so they're with me constantly. And I have to lean on friends sometimes because they literally live closer to go, hey, like, are you able to come over and watch them while I just go to the beach for an hour? I need to get out of this environment and then I can reassess, right? So that's okay if you need to do that too. I really always want to shed awareness on that because trust me, guys, like, you need to lean on each other to support each other. That's the whole point of relationship, okay? Anyways, I love you guys and I really hope that this really helps you guys, and I only come from it with love. Like, I really, really do, because it can get really hard. I'll talk to you guys on another episode. I appreciate you guys for listening and tuning in each week. I appreciate, guys, if you do share or like or rate or subscribe wherever you listen to this, because it really helps them pick my show to other people that may need to hear this stuff, because there's a lot more groundedness in our daily life with mindset and communication that people don't really get educated on. So I'll talk to you soon.